You are watching Frankly Speaking Sports, live from Charlotte, North Carolina. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Frankly Speaking Sports. I'm your host, Larry Frank, and boy, do we have a lot to talk about tonight. What an unbelievable show we have for you. We're going to talk about the Panthers, we're going to talk about the Hurricanes, and we're going to talk about the Charlotte Hornets. And then in about 30 minutes from now, we're going to have a very, very special guest. If you're from the Tampa Bay area, you're going to definitely know who this individual is. We're going to have Kenny Morales, Spectrum Bay News 9 sports anchor and reporter, will be joining us in about 30 minutes to talk about the success again this year that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are having, and we'll have him in about 30 minutes. But for all you Carolina Panther fans, Tampa Bay Buccaneer fans that are on several different platforms. I know tonight we're on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Tobacco Road Sports Radio. We're on Twitch tonight. Do me a favor. Take a moment. Share this to your timeline. It'll take 1 second. Share it to your timelines so that all your friends can go ahead and enjoy this show as well. We're becoming one of the largest Carolina-based sports shows that are going on right now, and we're real proud of that, and we want to keep that going. But also there is a message scrolling on the bottom. If you want to leave a comment, a question, a concern, we'll try to get to it as soon as we can. If we have time, we will open up the phone lines, but believe me, we have such a busy schedule tonight. We want to also let everybody know, I'm going to type that in because I almost forgot my good buddy here. Don't want to do that. Let me just type this in. See if we could get that back up. There we go. I got it. Whoops. All right. For those of you folks that are in the area of Carolina, you're a big Carolina fan, there's a group out there that is unbelievable. I'm a part of the group, as I am several, but this is by far my favorite group. They do not get negative. They do not. They stay positive. Even with the 4-game losing streak, you see positivity in this group. They don't fight, bicker, cuss, or anything like that. Go to your Facebook page and join the Carolina Panthers Den. If you're a Carolina Panthers fan, this group is definitely for you. But let's go ahead. Let's get right into it. About 25 minutes away from having Kenny Morales, Spectrum Bay News 9 out of Tampa Bay, sports anchor, reporter, will be joining us. But when you look at this game, disgusting, despicable, nauseating are a couple of the words that come to my mind when you talk about this loss the Carolina Panthers had, losing to the New York Giants 25-3. Before I break this down, folks, I figured out what's wrong with this team. It's simple, and I'm tonight, and I hope Matt Rule might even be listening tonight, as we do get several Carolina Panthers that do watch the show. It'd be great because I figured it out. We can solve this problem, but they have to listen. But before we get to what the solution to the problem is, let's talk about some of the problems during yesterday's game. Besides the score 25-3, 2 of 15 on third down conversions. Not a formula to win a football game, having only succeeding 2 of 15 times on third downs. Total of 173 total yards, 56 yards rushing, when coach said we were going to rush the ball closer to 30 times this week. We were sacked 6 times. Sam Darnold, P.J. Walker, who came in for Sam Darnold, which we'll discuss in a couple moments, went ahead, sacked 6 times. 7 penalties all over the place. Time of possession, we were outpossessed 34 minutes to 25 minutes. And once again, we dropped a number of passes in this game, from Robbie Anderson to DJ Moore, and so on and so on and so on. Just an ugly, ugly loss. By far the worst game the Carolina Panthers have played the entire season. Sam Darnold was benched in this game for P.J. Walker. Matt Rule said that, he felt it was the right thing to do at that time, was trying to give the team spark, but at the end of the day, maybe Matt Rule should have been benched. And this is what I mean, folks. The end of the day, and you can blame whoever you want, but this is an entire team that is losing, okay? Mistakes are becoming contagious. And when you start losing 4 games in a row, 5 games in a row, and so on, it seems like nothing is going your way. Every time something happens, it's bad for your team just because of the way you've been playing the game the last 4 weeks. And when you break down this game, first of all, I'm going to break it down to you in several terms, okay? This is a team right now that is lost. Not L-O-S-S, but L-O-S-T. This team is completely lost, has no identity, if you want to use that term, and they don't know what their identity is, if there is such an identity. And how do you fix that? Well, we're going to go into that. First of all, Matt Rule said we're going to run the ball 30 times. Yesterday, after the game, he was asked, you said you were going to run the ball more, yet your offensive coordinator, Joe Brady, did not run the ball. And he goes, yes, I was very upset that we did not run the ball as much as I wanted to. Well, at the end of the day, I don't know about Simple Business 101, but maybe one of you fans can help me on the comment line out there. But isn't that insubordination? If your coach or boss wants you to do something and you don't do it, that's a form of insubordination. What the hell is Matt Rule doing about people that don't listen to him? Joe Brady, run the ball more. What does Joe Brady do? Pass the ball more. So at the end of the day, when you look at this team, the offensive coordinator did not listen to the coach. And folks, this is where I'm going to get to what the problem is. So if you're a Carolina Panther fan and you've been looking for the answer, I'm about to reveal the answer that everyone's looking for or does not know about that will solve the problem. But let's go on to some of these other mistakes. Offensive line, 6 sacks, several penalties. If you have players who at the end of the day, who continue to not play the game right, that get penalties, that allow sacks, what are the consequences? What are you doing to educate, teach, develop, train these folks to not do this again? That is what I'm asking. What are we doing to fix the problem? Running back, picking up blocks, okay? You now have Abdullah, who you just picked up. You got Freeman and you got Hubbard. If one of these individuals is not doing the type of job that Christian McCaffrey does, which most people don't necessarily do it as well as Christian does, but if they don't pick up these guys that are putting pressure on the quarterback and block effectively, what are you doing with these players? What are the consequences? Okay? You get to the receivers. Robbie Anderson signs a huge $85 million or $185 million contract. Keeps dropping passes as well as the other receivers. What are the consequences for Robbie Anderson when he drops a football? Well, I'll tell you what they are. Nothing right now. There are no consequences. When we get stupid penalties, 7 penalties, what are we doing to these guys getting penalties? There are no consequences. See, everyone's blaming Sam Darnold. It's Sam Darnold's fault. It's Sam Darnold's fault. It's Sam Darnold's fault. But at the end of the day, it is not Sam Darnold's fault. And why isn't it? He's running like a scared chicken. You got to ask yourself, what's the difference between the first 3 games of the season when we were 3-0, the Carolina Panthers, to now when we lost 4 in a row and we are 3-4? The difference is he doesn't trust his offensive line right now. He does not feel confident enough that he is going to be protected where he can play his game and be comfortable doing the things that he did well the first 3 games. So I ask you folks, what is the problem with this team? Okay? Not the person. I'm going to tell you who the person is right now, and then I'm going to tell you what the problem is. The person that is affecting this team in the most negative way right now and causing this team to lose is very simple. It's head coach Matt Rule. You want me to say that again? Head coach Matt Rule. And why? Because of this one word. This one word is losing right now, and this same word will be the thing that fixes the issues and allows us the opportunity to win. And here is the simple one word, folks. One word. I don't care if you can spell it, as long as you can say it. Accountability. Accountability, accountability, accountability. It doesn't matter what business, what job, whether you're a football coach, a restaurant manager, a health coach, a fitness coach. It doesn't matter. If you don't have this word, you will never be successful. Okay? Now, first thing, each player on this team needs to hold themselves accountable to do the great job. Okay? They need to go there. Right now, this team is not going out there with the attitude that they're going to win. They're playing out there and going out there with the attitude that they can't lose again. And that is the wrong way to play any sport. I've been involved in enough sports. I've been around enough major league teams to know the difference between a winning attitude and a losing attitude. I was around the best NFL coach who I think ever coached in the NFL, and that was Don Shula. And believe me, Shula had accountability, okay? Don had accountability. And the first thing, we look back at these things. Joe Brady did not listen to Matt Rule. How is Matt Rule holding Joe Brady accountable? Well, you know how he holds him, should hold him accountable. He isn't doing anything. What he should do is say, screw you, Joe. You don't want to listen to me. Give me the damn playbook, and I'll call this damn offensive plays from this point on. But you know what? Matt Rule doesn't have a backbone to do that. Okay? I said before the year began, when I came over to Carolina, and all these folks asked me, what do you think of Matt Rule? And I said, I do not think Matt Rule is tough enough to be a coach in the NFL. He walks around like he doesn't motivate, he doesn't inspire, he doesn't bring out the aura of a football team the way it should be. And damn it, he's proven me right now. He's proven me right. So he did not hold his offensive coordinator accountable. The running backs. Oh, let's talk the offensive line. 6 sacks yesterday. Several penalties. What are you doing? What are the consequences? How are you holding this offensive line accountable? You know how? By doing nothing. I don't care if you got to bring a practice player with the right attitude off the practice squad and put him in. Damn it, at least he has the right attitude going into that game, and he's giving his heart and soul. These players should be playing football like it possibly could be the last play ever in the National Football League. Receivers dropping balls. You want to make a very good example of not to drop a football? Sit the guy you just gave a multi-million-dollar contract to for dropping a ball. Hold Robbie Anderson accountable for catching footballs. You have to hold people accountable and have a backbone. And sometimes when you sit a player, folks, it's not just sitting them to punish them. You sit them to educate them, train them, develop them, and they learn a lot from seeing it from the sideline to the field, rather than the field to the sideline. So, you know, that's a way to teach. It's called coaching. It's called coaching. Okay? The other thing is your attitude has to be right. You know what? If you have players that don't look ready, first of all, it starts in practice. And you hear the saying, practice, practice, practice. I can tell you right now, I don't care what Matt Rule says to me, they're not practicing as hard and as efficient as they should be. Because if they were, those attitudes switch over to the field on Sunday, and that's not happening right now. Right now, your guys are afraid. They're afraid because they're making mistakes. Rather than going out there and saying, I'm going to make a great catch, I'm going to make a great play, I'm going to run for a 10-yard run, they're saying, I don't want to screw up. And that's when you screw up in the game of football. It is coaching. Your job as a coach is to hold these people accountable, but it's to inspire and motivate them as well. And Matt Rule is not doing this. I could go out there tomorrow and promise you, I could promise you and bet every single penny that I own that this team would win a total of 9 or 10 games this season if I was on that football field. Not playing, but coaching. Because believe me, I have an offensive coordinator. I'll tell him what I want done and the type of plays. And damn it, he'll do it or his ass will be gone. Number 2, my defense is fine. And it will continue to be fine if we can keep them off the field for an extended period of time and have sustained drives. So I'm not worried about that. So I don't have to call plays. I have to lead men. I have to lead them, motivate them, inspire them to be great and bring out the greatness. Every single player on this football team has the ability to be great. Every single one. It's the National Football League. Okay? So nobody on here is a bad player. Second of all, when you look at this Carolina team has talent. They have a lot of weapons on offense, even without McCaffrey, and they have one hell of a defense. It's the coach's job to bring out that ability and let it rise from within and out and have those players throw their heart in to every single play, and this team will win. This team is good enough to win. Right now, it's an accountability issue, which leads to a confidence issue. You fix the accountability issue, and this team wins football games. And you teach accountability every single second of every single day that you're coaching. So that's my say on the Carolina Panthers. This is a much better team than a lot of people give credit for. Much, much better team than they're showing out there. They're playing the way they're playing. And this team needs to get the accountability issue. Guys, I'm not sticking up for Sam Darnold. But at the end of the day, if you folks out there really think this is a Sam Darnold issue, then you don't know anything about football. I'm sorry. You don't know anything about football if you blame Sam Darnold for this. Put yourself out there. Have yourself running for your life, having 300-pound people trying to squash you on a football field and have no protection out there. That's basically what Sam's facing right now. And I'm going to tell you something. Don't tell me this offensive line sucks. Yes, they gave up 6 sacks, but I'm going to tell you something, folks. I was down in Tampa 3 years ago. Had season tickets to the Buccaneers, okay? And I remember when I was down there, they had an offensive line, and they kept saying, the reason why Winston sucks is this offensive line. This offensive line sucks. They get penalties. Jameis is running for his life. He's getting sacked. Kind of sounds familiar, don't it? Well, guess what? It's the same damn offensive line that Tom Brady played with last year and he's playing with this year. Bruce Arians has brought out the accountability piece. If you don't play the way we want you to play and protect our $1 million man, we're going to replace you with someone that does. It's a simple formula for success. I don't know why so many people struggle with it. But at the end of the day, no matter what you do in life, if you take care of this word and hold yourself accountable first, you will be successful. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and take a 15-second station break to allow our stations to identify themselves. You are watching Frankly Speaking Sports, live from Charlotte, North Carolina. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Frankly Speaking Sports. I'm your host, Larry Frank. Hope you enjoyed that first segment. A lot of emotion, a lot of enthusiasm by me, but that's how I feel, folks. I always give you my 100%. That's why we do well on this show. That's why we have such a great following. Want to thank Tobacco Sports Radio, as always, for doing such a great job putting us on the air over there. We are about 6 minutes away from having Kenny Morales on. So we'll go ahead and we'll try to get that. But before we do that, how about those Charlotte Hornets? Right now, there's about 8 seconds left in the ball game. It's tied up 122-122 versus the Celtics. If they win tonight, they'll be 4-0. But right now, the Hornets 3-0. Okay, how about Miles Bridges, Eastern Conference Player of the Week? Just incredible. He had 32 points against Brooklyn, 3 for 5 on 3-pointers the other night. For the season, he's averaging 25 points per game, 8 boards, 2 assists, and 2.7 3-pointers a game. This Hornet team right now is averaging 46.9% field goal percentage. This was before tonight's game. They're 8th in the NBA. They're averaging 119 points a game, which is 4th in the NBA. 3-pointers, 38.7, and assists, 29 in 3 games. We told you about Bridges. Mason Plumlee averaging 6.7 points per game, 9.7 rebounds. How about LaMelo Ball? What a great job he's doing in the first 3 games. 22 points per game, 6 assists, 5.7 rebounds, 3 3-pointers he's averaging a game. My buddy Gordon Hayward, 17.7 points per game, 40% from 3-pointers, 6 assists. You got Kelly Oubre, 9 points, 9 rebounds versus Brooklyn. Ish Smith, 10 points per game, 5.7 assists. Cody Martin, 10.7 points per game. This is an unbelievable team effort. And I'll tell you what, this team starts off very slow. And then what they do is they pick it up in the second half. But this is a team that has been playing great defense, dishing the ball around, and every single player on this Hornets team has been delivering. Right now, we are going into overtime at the Spectrum Center in Charlotte. It's 122 to 122. You look at some of these statistics, just amazing. Miles Bridges has 23 points, 10 rebounds in this game. LaMelo Ball, 20 points, 9 assists, 5 rebounds. The Hornets are shooting 47.3% from the field. But listen to this, guys. 47.4% from three-pointer. Already in this game, okay, between the Boston Celtics and the Charlotte Hornets. You want to hear an incredible stat that any sports anchor or reporter would go crazy over? They have attempted a total of 84 three-point shots between them in this game. That's just unbelievable. Free throws, they're struggling a little bit. The Hornets, 61%. 30 assists by the Celtics, 26 by the Hornets. The Hornets are out-rebounding them 50 to 44, 14 to 10 on the boards. Just an unbelievable game. We go into overtime, and the score is 122. We will keep you updated after our interview with Kenny Morales on this game, and then we will also update you on the Carolina Hurricanes, who are also undefeated on the season as well. But ladies and gentlemen, it is my great honor, thrill, and pleasure to introduce to you, if you're from the Tampa area, this guy will be no secret to who he is. If you're from the Carolina area, this is Kenny Morales, who works for Spectrum Bay News 9. You turn on the TV, Bay News 9 comes on, the sports anchor for them and reporter. Let's go ahead and bring him on in. Kenny, how you doing tonight, buddy?
Hey, how's it going, Larry?
Good, buddy. You hearing okay?
I can't hear you for some reason. I'm not sure why.
Can you hear me okay?
No. I heard you earlier.
How about
as
now?
soon as I joined you on this side-by-side here, for some reason I don't hear your audio at all.
Let me see if I can fix this a minute. Get you. All right. Nope, I'm on. Everything is on here. Let me try something. Can you hear me now? How about now?
Yeah, nothing. I could try to leave and join in again. Can you try that?
Yeah, try that. I'm not sure. Everything's on here, right? You want to? I hate to throw you out. All right, he's going to come right back on. But they're going into overtime in the Spectrum Center. It's 122. We will keep you posted on that. Real quickly, an update, if I can get it, on the Hurricanes. They are winning 3-1 with about 3.5 minutes left in the third period. Goals in that game by Aho. Lawrence had his first, and Niederreiter had his second of the season. So it's 3-1 Hurricanes over the Maple Leafs with just south of 4 minutes left in that game. We're going to have Kenny coming right back on. He just kicked out, and now he'll kick back in here. Should be a moment. We'll get him back on. All right, I'm trying some different things out. All right. We'll wait a minute for him as I try to. All right, he should be back in 1 sec, folks. All right, 98%. That's good. Whoops. Not sure what's going on. Let's find out. But we're waiting a couple minutes for Kenny to come back. But while he does, I'm going to keep you updated. Let's see if we can get some statistics on all right, let's see. Bridges has 25 points. LaMelo Ball has 25 points. LaMelo is 7 of 13 from three-point range. Aubrey has 19 points. Gordon Hayward, 15 points. Plumlee has 12 points and 11 rebounds in that game as well. We're going to go ahead and bring Kenny Morales back up. Kenny,
There we go.
can you hear me?
Now I can hear you. There we go.
All right. How you doing, my friend?
Good. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. I want to thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Yeah, no problem.
There we go. Now I got everything going here. All right, there we go. We got everything back up and running. Kenny, let me ask you this. I mean, you're in Tampa Bay. I lived there for 36 years. So I know what losing is like. And obviously, I learned what winning was like. I just moved away less than a year ago, probably about 4 months ago. Talk about being a sports anchor and a sports reporter for a local station where every single team, I mean, you're talking the Buccaneers, the Lightning, the Rays. Let's not forget the Rowdies.
Right, yeah.
Let's not forget USF women's basketball last year, how well they did. I mean, this city is made of a bunch of winners, and it happened just all of a sudden. How much is it easier or more difficult when a team wins like Tampa Bay's win?
I think it's probably, I would say it's probably easier. It's definitely when you're interviewing, teams, players, coaches, things are a little more laid back and a little easier when you're winning. Winning cures all. So better to interview and talk to somebody after a win than a heartbreaking loss. Especially, for, as you mentioned, these franchises here, other than, maybe the Lightning, who have done pretty well these past couple of seasons. I mean, the Bucks, it had been such a rough couple of years for them. Missing on the playoffs for more than a decade and, trotting after, random quarterbacks after random quarterback and just really struggling. And then the Rays as well. I mean, to a certain extent, just obviously always being, one of the lowest payrolls in baseball and, having, attendance issues and whatnot. But now both those franchises, I mean, obviously for the Bucks, everything changed when they got Tom Brady in, and then the Rays just kind of, I don't know, they just kind of hit it with a lot of young prospects. Obviously, the biggest one now being Wander Franco, and making some great trades. A couple of years ago, whether it was bringing in a guy like Randy Arozarena, or obviously the Chris Archer trade to get Austin Meadows and now Shane Baz. It's been a lot of fun. The city has been a buzz, both Tampa and St. Pete with the Rays. I live in Pinellas Park, just outside of St. Pete. It's been a lot of fun, to see all those franchises do well at the same time, as well as the Rowdies. And there's a buzz. There's a buzz in the city that you might not normally see when these teams are struggling. So it's a lot of fun. and I would say a little easier to work these days as a sports reporter in Tampa.
Now, I want to talk about Tom Brady, but I want to talk about Tom Brady, not the quarterback, for a minute, okay? Talk about what Tom Brady brings to this team from a attitude perspective, from a winning culture, ability. We know what he does on the field. We know his ability on the field, throwing touchdown passes, hitting receivers, and so on. But it's more. This is a guy that has really come in and he's taught people not just how to play football, but he's taught them the art of winning.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's exactly right. You hit the nail on the head there. He taught him how to win. He taught him what it takes to be a winner. I remember, a lot of these guys on this Bucs team, other than, a couple of the veterans, Mike Evans, or maybe some of the guys that came in later, like Ndamukong Suh, there's some really young players in this team that came to the Bucs when they were still losing. And that's all they knew was losing. And it's not easy to get out of a slump like that. You build bad habits. It's hard to get rid of them. Brady came in and immediately instilled a winning culture and taught these guys how to practice the right way, how to not only practice the right way, but take care of their bodies the right way. We've heard multiple guys, whether it was, Mike Evans or Gronk coming from New England, taking care of their bodies, using the TB12 system or the facility that Tom has built here. That makes a big difference. Look at Tom at 44 years old, leading the league in passing yards. That's just something that I don't think anyone saw at his age, and yet he is still looking like not 44, but 24 or 34. He is just, it's unbelievable what he's doing at his age. And that's the biggest, but the biggest thing isn't his production. It's what he does off the field. It's what his mind, his mentality brings to that franchise, to that team, to those players. It makes a world of a difference.
Yeah, and if you look at Tom Brady and you break down this year, 7 games, and you put it over a course of a 17-game season, which this year we play 17 games. Tom Brady, listen to this, Kenny. 5,525 yards passing, 51 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and a 108.2 quarterback rating. How does this guy, the older he gets, he's right now arguably playing the best he's ever played in the NFL right now.
Yeah. No, I agree totally. If he does keep going on that track, he's got to be in contention there, along with, I would say, Derrick Henry, and you could probably name some other guys, maybe Josh Allen or so, for MVP. He's playing at an elite level, and I think a big part of it is obviously what he's doing, but I think we got to give a lot of credit to as well. The offensive line has done a really great job. Up front, Brady has gotten fantastic protection. I think he's only been sacked 9 times this year, which is pretty low amongst starting quarterbacks that have played a handful of games or more. But what he's doing numbers wise is ridiculous, and it's hard to fathom. But I guess we shouldn't be surprised at this point, right? Because he does this every single year now. He's just nope. This is the year. This is the year that he's finally going to take a step back. That Father Time's finally going to catch up, and he doesn't. And now we figured once we saw year one with Brady and Bruce Arians' system, a little bit of struggles there early on in the season. Obviously, it didn't help that they didn't have an off season really of any kind because of COVID. But once they got past, I believe it was after that Monday night Rams game where they kind of turned things around offensively. And then the second year here, still a little bit of hiccups here and there, but for the most part, once they get rolling, they're unstoppable offensively with Brady as the quarterback and all the weapons they have offensively. And especially when we saw this past week, or yesterday rather, against the Bears, the ground game gets going. They had 182 yards rushing, which is pretty dang good. And I think almost 6 yards a carry. If you're getting that out of your ground game, and you got Brady at QB, and obviously, and even yesterday they were hurt at wide receiver. No Antonio Brown. You didn't have Gronk again at tight end, and still 21 points in the first quarter, 35 in the half. It's nothing. It's clockwork.
And you talk about that running game at 182 yards, like you said yesterday. Most of it by Hornet and Jones, 140 of it. Then you had Vaughn, who put in almost 30 yards yesterday. I mean, it's so important to this team to establish that run. And it looks like Fournette and Jones, after last year finally playing together for a whole year, they've accepted the role of being dual running backs on this team.
Yeah, I would say so. I think Jones definitely got a little more work yesterday than he had gotten the past couple of games. It seemed like Fournette had really solidified himself as RB1, and he still is. I mean, it is sort of a dual. They do Jones has his carries here and there, but for the most part, this is Fournette's run game right now. He's done a really good job. It's pretty incredible the kind of the turnaround he's had. I mean, remember, go back to last year, he was in the doghouse for a little bit there, and it looked like the experiment with bringing him over when he was a free agent wasn't going to work, and
Right.
maybe Rojo was going to be the guy. That's completely flipped now, and part of it is of Rojo's own accord, and it showed again yesterday. He fumbled on the one. You can't do that. You just can't, and it's been a problem he's had since he got into the league, and Fournette doesn't really have that problem. And obviously Rojo's issues with pass blocking as well, picking up blitzes is well noted. So, but it is nice to see him get some work in there because I do think he provides something. Obviously, gives playoff Lenny some rest. But I think he's got a good burst of speed as well. But for the most part, it seems like Fournette is going to be RB1. Rojo will get his carries here and there, and then obviously we'll see Gio Bernard on third down and passing situations and whatnot.
We talked about what Tom Brady means to this team. Another big addition a couple of years ago was head coach Bruce Arians, who has a completely different style of coaching, probably allows more input from players than any other coach in the league right now. Some would say the way he does that, they wouldn't think of that as being a positive, but it works for Bruce Arians. What is so special? He says, I'd rather be, their uncle than their father drinking a beer with them at a bar. What is it about coach that just makes this team go?
That was the soundbite that I was thinking of right there. He's like, I don't want to be their dad. I want to be the cool uncle you have a drink with. That is like, as someone, I don't even play football. I played basketball growing up, but even as an outsider, I'm like, yeah, I want to be with that guy. I want that leader. I mean, I think the biggest thing is obviously he holds everybody accountable. Even Brady. Even Tom Brady, the GOAT. I mean, we heard him, last year criticize Brady, which, I remember when he first did that, some of the national talking heads and pundits were like, whoa, is this going to work? Brady's not really used to that. That's not what Belichick was doing. But that's just who Bruce Arians is. He doesn't care. But at the same time, like you said, he is a bit of a player's coach. He's going to let guys, have their input. He's going to trust guys that have been in the league for a long time, like a Tom Brady or a Jason Pierre-Paul or an Ndamukong Suh. And he listens to them too. He does, gives them veterans days. He trusts, like, look, you need a day to rest. You need a break for your body. All right, I trust you. You don't need this practice. You know what you're doing out there. I think that plays a big role in it as well. Is he gets on you when you need to, right? He motivates you and if you need that push. But at the same time, if you've paid your dues in the league and you're a veteran and you know what you're doing out there, he understands, like, all right, you know what? I trust you. And that's a big thing, trust.
Yeah, now, something may happen this year. I don't know how many people in Tampa are already aware of this. It's only happened 5 times in NFL history, but based on the fact that Antonio Brown gets healthy here quickly, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are on pace to have Godwin, Evans, and Brown all having 1,000 yards receiving this year.
That's incredible.
I mean, and Antonio Brown was the guy that was just put on the team. They didn't know if he'd be a mainstay. He's turning out when he's healthy to be, like Mike Evans, the main guy out there.
Yeah, when he's been healthy, he's sort of been Brady's go-to. I mean, he really has been. And I don't know if that's just the fact that, him and Brady did have some history together, although they only played 1 game in New England. They obviously have a rapport already. And I mean, that's crazy to think 3 1,000-yard receivers. But if there's any quarterback that's going to do it, and if there's any offensive system that's going to lead to that, it's probably going to be Tom Brady and Bruce Arians' no risk it, no biscuit offense. Yeah, I could see that happening as long as, you talked about health. As long as Brown can come back and play and keep playing, and Godwin as well. We've seen him have some injury concerns here and there. If he can stay healthy, I think that's certainly possible. A lot of fun to watch. It makes it very difficult for defenses, that's for sure.
Yeah, and you talked about the defense, which has obviously and notably been banged up this year so far. But when you still look at this defense, it's still impressive to see Shaq Barrett, 5.5 sacks already this year, which since he's been to Tampa, he's been the beast of the league. And then you also have the defense, which a lot of people also don't know this. They have 10 interceptions already this year.
That's pretty dang impressive, considering that secondary is as beat up as any secondary in the league right now. I mean, with no Sean Murphy-Bunting, with no Carlton Davis, I mean, your two best corners. That's hard. That's not easy to replace. But they've done a good job. Obviously, it helps to have a front seven like they have there to get pressure on quarterbacks, and Justin Fields learned that the hard way yesterday. But I mean, I think those other corners that they brought in and have done a good job. Whether it's a Pierre Desir or a Ross Cockrell, whoever you want to go with. And then obviously, yesterday getting back Antoine Winfield Jr. was big, and he made his presence felt. I believe that was the very first play, if I'm not mistaken, where they blitzed him and he got to Fields and forced the fumble along with Shaq Barrett there. I think the Bears recovered that ball, but still, that's just Winfield Jr. There's something about him, man. It feels like every time he's in a game, he just has a nose for the ball. Whether it's an interception or a forced fumble, the dude just knows how to create turnovers. That's pretty nice to have in your secondary there. So I was impressed with what they were able to do yesterday. Obviously they're not at the Super Bowl level that they were at last year in terms of getting to the backfield, putting pressure on quarterbacks. I understand what they did with the Bears was impressive, but it's the Chicago Bears. They're not very good. Justin Fields is a rookie, and that offensive line is pretty bad. So let's see what they look like against some better competition. But that was a solid outing, no doubt.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you, one of the hardest things to do in any sport, whether it's basketball, hockey, baseball, etc., is to repeat. Mm-hmm. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, although they look very, very strong right now, are going after a repeat. To you, is there anything that you can see balance of the year that would stand in their way from repeating as Super Bowl champs?
Yeah, I would say I think the two NFC West teams. I think the Cardinals and the Rams. I mean, they've already played the Rams and they lost to the Rams. The Rams look good. They look really good with Matt Stafford back there. And then the Cardinals, I mean, they're 7-0. They're still undefeated, and Kyler Murray looks fantastic, and that defense looks a lot better than it had been in the past couple of years. I mean, I think those are probably, along with Green Bay. We saw them beat Green Bay last year, but Green Bay looks just as good as they did last year. So it's not going to be easy, and I think it was close last year up in Lambeau. One bad, had they maybe not kicked that field goal and let Rodgers actually make the call there at the end, maybe we're not looking at the Bucs winning the Super Bowl. But yeah, I think those are probably their three biggest threats in the NFC and going back to the Super Bowl. But I'd still feel pretty comfortable with the Bucs in all those games, just because of Brady and because I think the defense will, once they get back Carlton Davis and SMB and those guys, I think they'll be back to their, to playing at an elite level.
Yeah, and like I said, one of the teams that scares me, and I really didn't think they were going to do as well. I knew they had the ability, is the team they beat the first game of the season, Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
They are looking really, right now they're looking good, but they haven't really been through the injury bug yet that a lot of these teams are facing. So a lot of this, as we know in football, it's based on how healthy your team can be. Is there anybody in the AFC that they would play in if they get to the Super Bowl that you would say they could match up with, or no?
Buffalo. I think Buffalo would be a really good contest. I just think Josh Allen has done a phenomenal job. And that defense, that Bills defense is right up there with the Bucs in my mind. I'm looking at the AFC North. I mean, the Bengals just beat the Ravens. I feel like that's still, I don't think either of those teams are really a threat. I like the Bengals. I really like what Joe Burrow has done there. and the head coach Zach Taylor, but I don't think they're ready yet to take that next step. The AFC South, the Titans look really hot. I mean, the Titans,
they do.
They just absolutely beat down the Chiefs. I don't know what's wrong with Kansas City. I mean, they look nothing like themselves. I don't even know if they'll make the playoffs right now. I mean, I assume they'll turn it around at some point, but Mahomes does not look good, and that defense is horrendous. In the AFC West, I mean, the Raiders are 5-2 right now, but I'm not going to go with the Raiders. I mean, they don't have a head coach. I mean, they have an interim, but I would probably go with the Chargers. I love Justin Herbert.
Herbert, yeah.
He has looked really that kid looks like he's going to be a really good starting quarterback in this league for a long, long time. And they've got some really good weapons there as well. So I would probably go with the Chargers, the Titans, and the Bills as 3 legitimate threats there to make the Super Bowl and contend with the Bucs.
We are talking to Kenny Morales, Spectrum Bay News 9 sports anchor, reporter out of Tampa Bay. Last question before we let you run, and it's actually from our comment section on the show. Kenny, they want to know your opinion. Rob from Tampa, Florida, actually, we got a message from, wants to know if there's any, with them being in the NFC, and I'm paraphrasing this, I'm not reading the whole thing to you, but with them being in the NFC South and having pretty much a lock on the NFC South, is that at any point in the season where you think about sitting Tom Brady and resting him and letting Blaine Gabbert play?
I think there's certainly a thought to be had there. Yeah, I think there's a conversation. I think once you lock up, for me, I agree. I assume they're going to run through that division. I mean, it is. Besides them, that is the worst. That is a really rough-looking division. The Panthers look terrible. The Falcons haven't looked any good, although they just beat the Dolphins. But what's that really saying?
Right.
And the Saints have been up and down. They're inconsistent. They should be able to cruise through that division. And yeah, I mean, if you get to a point where you're top seed in the NFC and you got a home field advantage locked up, yeah, maybe you do sit them. Try to avoid injury. I mean, I guess you also run the argument would be, well, if you don't let him play, maybe he gets rusty. Maybe some of the starters get rusty if you sit down any other guys. I'm not really with that either. I think I would go with what your commenter Rob said there. If they got it locked down and there's maybe, I don't know, it's week 17, sit him. What do you need him for? Don't risk him for a meaningless win. Or if you got it locked up, in week 16, sit him for 2 weeks. Brady has been in this game long enough that he's not going to be rusty. Just let him go out there, let him sit down, enjoy, not having to play. He'll be fine in practice. He'll get his reps there, and then they'll go out there and be ready for the playoffs. I don't think there'd be any issue with that. So yeah, I think there's a legitimate argument to be made there to rest him.
All right, my friend. Well, listen, Kenny, we want to thank you so very, very much taking time out of your schedule to join us on Frankly Speaking Sports.
Yes, sir. No problem. Please.
All right, buddy. Be safe.
All righty. You as well.
All right. That was Kenny Morales, Spectrum Bay News 9 sports anchor reporter out of Tampa Bay. Let's take a quick station break. When we come back, we'll update you on the Hurricanes and the Hornets. You are watching Frankly Speaking Sports. Live from Charlotte, North Carolina. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Frankly Speaking Sports. Great interview with Tampa Bay Spectrum Bay News 9 reporter and sports anchor Kenny Morales. Just a great interview. A lot of good, if you're a Tampa Bay fan, a lot of information there. For those of you Carolina fans, in overtime, the final, the Boston Celtics defeated your Charlotte Hornets 140-129 to hand the Charlotte Hornets their first loss of the year. The Celtics outscored the Hornets in overtime 18-7. Hornets. The Celtics were led by Jason Tatum, who had 41 points, 8 assists, 7 rebounds. He was 6 of 12 from the three-point line. Meanwhile, Miles Bridges for the Hornets had 25 points, 3 assists, 10 rebounds. And LaMelo Ball also had 25 points, 9 assists, 5 rebounds, 7 of 14 from the three-point arc. Once again, the Hornets lose their first game of the season by 11 points to the Boston Celtics. Now, another team that has been real hot this year has been the Carolina Hurricanes, who are off to a 3-0 start this season. Just seeing where my papers are here. Alrighty, I must have that. I must have left that in the book. But they're off to a 3-0 start as well. Let's go ahead, and if we check that score, it looks like the Hurricanes have won that game 4-1. A goal by Aho, another one by Lorenz, one by Niederreiter, and one by Svechnikov, which was his 5th goal of the season. But you look at some, let me see if I can get some in-game center here. There we go. We'll give you that. When you look at this game, shots on goal, 36 for the Carolina Hurricanes, 25 for the Leafs. Once again, Frederick Anderson only allowing 1 goal. That was the big thing in this game. They won 4-1. They now move to, I believe it's, let's see, is it 3-0 or 4-0 on the season? So I'm going to pull it up somewhere else here where I can get more information for you folks. There we go. All right. The Hurricanes now are 5 wins, no losses. So they're 5-0 on the year. Just a great job. Carolina is now in first place in the Metropolitan Division with 10 points. The Rangers are sitting at second with 9 points. Svechnikov has 7 points on the season. That'll now be 8 points after this game. The whole team is just playing well. And the one thing about the Hurricanes, they've been doing this well this year, is they don't give up a lot of shots on goal. What they seem to do is they go ahead, they play great defense in front of Anderson. Once again, not a lot of shots on goal by the Leafs tonight. Very little shots on goal throughout, and Anderson only gave up another goal. I believe in 4 games he's given up. Now in 5 games, he's only given up 8 goals, and that's a formula for success when you're playing well. Once again, the penalty kill was 88.5% before the game. They killed 3 penalty opportunities by the Leafs tonight, so they increased that percentage again today. So a great job by the Carolina Hurricanes. If you give me 1 second there. And if you look at this team, the team has just been doing unbelievable. I said Anderson, Streknikov has 7 points. Teravainen, 6 points. Aho, 6 points. Foster's been playing unbelievable. Trocheck had his first 2 goals versus Columbus over the weekend. Jordan Staal, the captain, had his first goal versus Columbus. Meanwhile, this defense with Pesci and Skay, they're all doing well. Like I said, they're just not allowing shots on goal. So a great job by the Carolina Hurricanes. Congratulations. Undefeated on the season. 5 wins, no losses. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank our special guest, Kenny Morales from Bay News 9 in Tampa Bay, for joining us today on Frankly Speaking Sports. And want to remind you, tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time on our network, College Football Tuesday, myself and Zach McKinney. On behalf of all of us at Frankly Speaking Sports, have a good night, and we'll see you tomorrow.